I think you're muted, Ray.
Oh, that's one way to start it off. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. We appreciate you being with us. This is MSP Community Live, and I am Ray Orsini, OIT Ray, on the Discords and the Reddits and the YouTubes. Joined, as always, by Mr. Matt Topper. And today's special guest joining us again is Mr. Kyle Spooner. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, bro. How you doing, Matt?
Doing great.
Even after football this week, you're doing great?
It's a lost cause.
Is that like we're done? Is that
So-
what it is? We're just basically giving up. At this
What's
point?
your team again?
The-
Dolphins. Oh, his is the Jets.
His.
Jet,
Oh, the
Jets
Jets.
fan.
Oh, yeah.
So not
We
only
talked
are we about to lose, we're about to lose Sunday night national TV against the Chiefs with all of the Taylor Swift fans watching and tuning in. Going to be a just complete massacre.
Yeah. Dolphins are doing great. Yay, go sports ball.
I mean, I'm a Packer fan, and the fact that we're at 500 or above, I'll take.
So did the Aaron slip? Like, did you feel it a little bit as a Packer, even though he's not?
Yeah, I wanted him to be successful with the Jets. I wanted the Jets to take Aaron, what Aaron can be and continue that legacy of a great Hall of Fame quarterback. I do think it was long term a bad. I understand why they drafted Jordan Love, but I do think long term that wasn't a great move. But he still has time to show us he can be successful. I mean, he did a comeback win versus the Nowland Saints last week, so
I'm hoping he pans out for when he comes over to the Jets in 10 years or so, following in the
like
footsteps.
this process I like. It's been great. Hall of Fame quarterback goes to the Jets, who will then go to the Vikings and then lose. It's a win-win for a Packer fan. But anything that prevents the Bears from being successful, I'm all for.
That would be the Bears themselves.
Yeah.
I can't say I was excited for or that I was wishing him well at the Jets. I do love Aaron Rodgers, but it's like Tom Brady. I couldn't stand him on the Patriots. Now, when he went to Tampa, I'm like, yay, Tom Brady.
Well, because he's out of your division.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm good with it. But no, the 8 seconds on field was fantastic. I mean, that's one of the highlights of the season, man. It's
He had a good highlight carrying the flag out before the game. I think that was the extent of the highlight reel this year.
Poor guy. Well, he went out in style. It was a good season.
He'll be back
anyway. So let's talk about not football or sports ball. Let's talk about MSP. How has your MSP week gone so far, guys?
Productive.
Yeah, getting a lot done.
Enthusiasm.
Moving the stakes forward.
I just want to say.
Moving the
chains. There's no enthusiasm, right? So, right, I told you guys I got Invisalign treatment started this week, so I'm just trying to survive the week and get through that. It's been interesting.
I had gallbladder removal surgery a week ago.
You look extremely well for having just had surgery, sir.
Which one? Because we both have technically had surgery.
I don't think that counts. Yeah, you, Kyle.
I don't think mine counts as surgery.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. You didn't have anything removed.
It was an interesting experience for sure. It took a few days for me to really come back to it, but everything's been great so far. I can't do much housework anymore because I can't lift over 10 pounds. So that's been great.
6 months of that, right?
6 months. That's what I'm going to say when I go to my doctor's visit next week. It'll be like, hey, just write this down in the chart so I can show it to my wife and kids.
Do the kids care about doctor's notes?
No, but if it's in there, I have plausible deniability.
That makes sense. Well, I'm glad you're both recovering or doing well and enough to join here. So thank you guys. So what do you say we get into this MSP stuff, right? The stuff we should be doing or should be covering.
I'd rather talk about Aaron Rodgers.
It's really actually, let's see, is there a thread? Yeah, there's a thread. I would definitely love to talk about Aaron Rodgers over this damn Chromium WebP vulnerability.
For those who don't know, WebP has a vulnerability.
Why don't you explain it, Kyle? Since can you expand on that?
Sure. If you have an application that displays images or from the web or displays websites, more than likely that is or was a vulnerable system to a library that is in use called WebP. I mean, it's like LibWebP 3 or something, but it's a very broad library that a lot of people and applications use. So Google it, you'll find it's a CVSS 10 high maximum, oh god, world on fire
The
situation.
world is falling.
Similar to Log4j, but probably not as rampant of a
lower exposure.
Yeah, lower exposure.
It has teams, dude. I mean, teams.
Yeah, but
so the thing is though, with this,
he's dying to say it's Discord, not a proper platform. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Right? You maybe saw my post. I know I put it in our Discord chat.
Okay.
Yes, CVSS 10. Yes, very bad and very high exposure, right, in terms of number of apps that use it. But one of the points I was trying to make is that from the end user perspective, like all this freaking out really just boils down to update your stuff exactly like you already should be doing.
And don't so have local admin as well. These are the reasons why.
Right, exactly. These are the reasons why. But the firestorm over, oh my god, a CVSS 10, I think was a little overblown in that the remediation is update your stuff, which you should already be doing anyway.
True, but I think the CVSS was more geared towards letting vendors know how critical of an issue it could be, not necessarily as an end user piece.
Yes, no, I don't disagree with the rating S10. The reaction to the release, I think, was a little theatric.
Well,
I don't remember, but okay. So here's the thing, though: you can't update teams, right? Unless you're going to use new teams, which sucks. You can't update Slack. You can only use the web version. You can't update Discord. You have to use the web version.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do differently as an end user there, though? Like, what's your action?
The way we approached it, well, first of all, I'm finding the links. We actually covered this on Dispatch just before this. We're going to put out a special report next week, but one of my security guys wrote a script to actually look for libraries and look for stuff to give you indicators. So he gave us this whole laundry list, like Canva desktop app is affected, and Beeper desktop app is affected. Basically, anything with Chromium that's out of date. So, whatchamacallit. So, what we did as a policy company wise is they either use new teams or they use a web version. We disabled, which you could probably argue is probably good regardless, but we recently disabled external attachment sharing in Teams. So nobody can send you an attachment in Teams because the concern is a WebP file. Because I'll be honest, I'm still using the desktop version of Teams, knowing full well it's vulnerable. But also my only attack vector there is somebody in my team sharing a WebP file.
Yeah, you're making a risk decision based on a low likelihood.
Yeah, so I feel comfortable with that. But because I couldn't block somebody extra, I work with a lot of external organizations and teams. So because I couldn't block them DMing me a file and I wouldn't know what the file is, we made the move to block that specifically. We still allow external chat. So a little bit of policy, a little bit of technology. Unfortunately, we can't control Slack and Discord. Anybody can send anything to anybody. I'm not going to start telling people turn off their DMs because I couldn't do it. So we're just using
also a risk assessment, though. You just accept it instead of mitigated.
Yes, yeah. I am running the web versions of Discord and Slack, just because I'm going to do that for the exact same reason. You can't control anything that comes in. So, just risk assessments. Are you guys doing anything different? Have you communicated to your clients or anything?
We're in the figure out how bad it is internally stage for things that are out of date because as is mentioned in the multiple different areas, you can probably find a discussion about this. This is not like this was reported 7 days before the new CVSS came out.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that
yesterday
used Chrome were already in the process of being patched or using the library. So we're trying to understand what parts haven't been updated yet, what needs to be updated. And then once we have a full understanding, we can start the mitigation and remediation.
Well, and I mean, the remediation part. Oh, mitigation we could do. Remediation, I don't think there's jack squat we could do, right? I mean, until the apps are ready to be upgraded. But
you decide to use it or
but
not.
There are cases where the apps are updated, but they just either they haven't applied or like there's something preventing it from updating. So we want to be aware of those and go kick those people's computers in the head to knock them out, put them back on, wake them up so they restart and update.
Yeah.
So there's some remediation that can be done with those apps that have already been patched. But there's not much other than mitigation you can do for those that haven't.
Matt, I'm curious about your opinion. So you think this is just hullabaloo? You don't think it's as, I mean, not that it's not significant, but you don't think it's as bad as the Log4j, Print Nightmare?
I do think it's bad. I am a perpetual skeptic when you start getting the world is on fire, everybody drop everything and patch right now kind of reactions to things. There are very few things that warrant that type of reaction. The Exchange proxy logon was one of them. And the reason for that is it required remediation beyond simply being up to date patch wise.
Right.
And I think for most things that require remediation only in the form of patching, and again, it's not to understate the seriousness of this, but just a reminder that this shouldn't be what prompts you to patch things, right? It shouldn't be this is our prompt now to go check our line of business applications, and we wouldn't be doing that otherwise. It might simply be a reminder to up the cycle to something more frequent or patch today as opposed to 30 days from now. But my frustration with these reactions is often that it seems that these types of vulnerabilities are what prompts some organizations to start patching. And my response is you kind of should be doing that anyway.
Oh, 100%.
And that's my, maybe frustration is not the right word, but if you have a patch management policy that you're confident in and isn't only covering Microsoft, you really don't have to do anything different aside from moving things up a cycle and then also determining what you have that may be vulnerable. And so that's my only commentary on it, in that I don't think that this should be what prompts an organization to start patching and should be anything beyond do what you're already doing sooner.
So I take a little bit of a right turn to that statement. I think that most, at least MSPs, have some type of patching policy. I don't think that they review it to make sure it's working.
I agree. Right.
And I think stuff like this is what, and I think this is what stuff like this prompts them to verify that it's actually working. And then they go in and re-look at it and then re-update and fix whatever's broken or whatever. This is what
that's a good point.
See.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we had to bring that down to just a few words, what are you telling MSPs to do here, Matt? I mean, this is literally right in your wheelhouse. You're talking to MSPs about this stuff. So what's the recommendation?
Well, I think I'm living in my Acme Corp world a little bit, right? You have unlimited resources. So from a practical perspective, what you and Kyle described really is the right thing to do. Understand what applications you have that are vulnerable, whether you do that by looking at a list or doing a scan or whatever, and update them. That's really all there is to do. And you have to make a case-by-case decision, like you mentioned before, Ray, on if I have something that's vulnerable that doesn't have a patch, how critical is this to my operation? And is there a workaround? Is it something we don't use often that we can say don't use until it's updated? Or is it we're not doing business at all if this thing is going, so we just have to use it, right? It's a case-by-case decision.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I think that's sage advice. And And because, we like to scare people on MSP Dispatch, this is the one that came out yesterday.
Yeah.
This is the new one. I'll put the link in chat. But it's more Chromium nonsense. Also not patched. But this one's different though. This was libvx. Do you know any of the information on this one, Matt or Kyle?
I don't.
No, I just saw it was released.
Yeah. This is it does affect Chrome, Firefox, older versions. Of course, Chrome has patched it. But we'll leave the link in the chat because this is early days. We were just notified about it. I think came on my radar at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock last night, Eastern time. So, we'll just monitor as we go.
And when you see stuff like that, it's a great opportunity, like Kyle mentioned, to ensure that you have things like centrally managed Chrome policies that force auto updates, right? That's one of the things to verify, as opposed to saying, hey, everybody go download the new Chrome.
Right. So I want to talk about this post I found on Reddit this weekend was not, I don't want to say it's not a question that doesn't get brought up over and over and over again, but I'm a little disappointed at how the responses were. So this post is, are we too expensive in Australia? Hey guys, doing some research based in Australia. Few leads said we were too expensive. We charge per seat plus extra for servers. Doesn't include licenses as 365 or Windows. Below is included our fully managed support plan, a bunch of tools. We price at $249 GST per seat, basically per user. We charge extra $450 per server per month. And then he mentioned some tools he's using. Before we get into it, I'm curious about your responses. $250 a user, $249 a user, $450 a server. He lists out his tools. He wants to know if he's charging too much. Kyle, what is your reaction when you see this?
Well, first off, my reaction is to figure out in what American dollars he's charging.
Yeah.
Which is about 160 USD because I just Googled it.
Okay.
That is a bit on the high side when not including Office licensing. I'm unsurprised. Like it's like directly in that bracket of it being most people doing per user cost and including it or not including that Office license.
I believe Office is also one of those that, remember, in Australia everything is significantly more expensive.
Yeah,
and it may not be feasible at that 160 price point.
True. So I'm going. I can only interpret what I have information I have available. So, the only thing, I mean, it's okay. I would. There's not a whole lot of stuff that he's using that I can see that would justify that high of a cost. He may not have included all of his tools, like the RMM plan. There's like an MSP business that's missing. Is it just Sentinel One Complete? Is that the only thing he's giving to his clients with a backup? Iron Scales for. He's using Iron Scales for backup.
Must be email security.
Yeah. I mean, but it doesn't. It needs commas. You need to figure out a comma because it just looks like one giant blurb of products that he decided to grab and throw on there. But it doesn't seem like his cost is justified, in my opinion, based on the conversion rate. That seems very high for what he's providing to the end user. If I could see a better of what the cost breakdown was, but I would say anywhere from $150 to $200 a user USD. Including RMM, DNS filtering, AV, Huntress, something like that. And with additional higher end protectional services coming in at a additional cost. Like you have a base package of 150 to 200, including the Office license. And then then you would increase based on having additional layers of security, is how I would personally do it. But I don't think that's too far out of asking.
What's your feedback, Matt?
I think mine's a little simpler, and it's, if your clients are willingly paying that and everyone is happy, then it's not too expensive. I mean, it's kind of that, right? If you're losing every deal based on price, maybe it's too expensive. But if you are winning a significant portion, or at least enough of your prospects to be able to charge for that, and your existing clients pay it without complaining about it, then the reality is it's not too expensive. Even if Kyle is correct in that it may not be what we would charge if we started from zero, but if it's working, then go for it.
So my feedback is I have no freaking clue. Most of the feedback on there was very much like Kyle's. And Kyle, I apologize, I did set you up there.
That's fair.
But to be fair though, your role is not sales. You talk about sales, but your role is not sales. Your role is your upper level management on the technical side, correct?
Operations, yeah.
Operations, thank you. So, to a hammer, everything's a nail, right? I look at it, and similarly, yes, I'm an engineer, but I spent more of my life at this point, on the business side. So to me, my nail is I look at the business side of it. And so my response, similar to Kyle, but on the business side, is who cares about the tools? In 2015, 2016, I was still selling seats at 180 to 225, 220 a user. I had all that minus a different tool sets, but it's really not relevant. Anytime somebody would ask me what I charged, I would tell them it was 180, or if they're regulated, which was most of my clients, 220. And I include most of that. We had no Sentinel one at the time or whatever. But it was never based on what tools I had. Yes, security was covered, training was covered, applications were covered, blah, blah was covered. But it was more about what am I delivering service-wise for that price, which I would have liked to see in that post. That is going to have a higher factor than, because no client is looking and saying, am I getting Barracuda? Am I getting, Sentinel-1?
That's what I was trying. You just said exactly what I was trying to say, except you removed all the tools that I mentioned. You have a basic layer of coverage of services. The tool doesn't matter. The basic layer of coverage of services, you're protecting email, you're protecting AV, stuff like that. That's what I was trying to get at. But,
and that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for, tell me what clients you're working with, right? Because you guys said this. Tell me what clients you're working with, so we can see what the vertical is, what the needs might be. Because if you're telling me 160 a user for an office, a regular professional office, okay, fine. You're telling me 160 a user for some kind of like CAD design firm or high-end AV firm or some boutique PE firm, that's not going to cover jack, because they're going to be very labor intensive. They're going to be very consulting intensive, and you're going to burn through that so fast. I remember I had a cancer research lab that was a client of mine. The stack was never the problem. We ended up, I think, at 350, 400 a user. And this was a 300 user organization that was global. But we did it because they had so many specialty tools in each of their labs. And they had labs at UCLA. They had labs at Florida, not Florida Atlantic, USF, University of South Florida. They had labs in these college campuses with this millions of dollars of hardware and software and whatever. And it was a giant learning curve for us. And we were constantly working with these vendors. We had to charge that. There was no way we couldn't have done it. So like that's what I would like to see. That's what I would have liked to see, to have that conversation and advise, are you charging too much or too little? Because like Kyle said, it's what the client's willing to pay. Or Matt, I forgot who said it, but it's what the client's willing to pay. To me, it was not how much was I charging, it was I was going after. I was going after regulated businesses, professional businesses that had licensure, that had oversight, that kind of stuff. And it worked really well for my model, and nobody batted an eye at the pricing. But you have to have a client type. If you're going to say my client type is 5 to 10 users, small business, that's not going to do jack. That's not enough information. So
And I think this post was right. This was a prospect post, not a existing client complaining about the price post, I think. Yep. And for the most part, I've always taken the stance that I don't mind losing deals on price unless I'm losing every deal on price. Then that might be a chance that I'm charging too much. But if this is just one and most of them are okay, then okay.
Your target market could also be wrong.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. As a one-off, that's not a data point I'd pay attention to. If it's multiple or higher than average, then yes, I'm looking at changing the client type or changing my pricing. That is just how it goes. But I will tell you also, when because we get it today at OIT Point, where they're like, well, okay, you charge this, but this vendor was charging me this. And I'm like, yeah, but you're on the phone with me because you want to switch. You just gave me all these pain points. What does it matter what they're charging you? Are you trying to have me match that service, right? Because we've all seen good and bad MSPs that had the right tools, but maybe didn't deploy them properly or whatever. The tools don't matter, in my opinion, unless it's web root. But never. I'm kidding.
Yeah. The only other thing that I see with this is it feels like he may not be showing this, or they may not be showing this specifically, but it feels like they're nickel and diming everything and counting every penny towards the gross margin or the contract itself. And I just want to simplify things. Like, this is our service. This is what we cover. Boom.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to quantify it, but and I do see, I wouldn't do it, but I do see a lot of organizations now breaking 365 out specifically because of NCE. I'm seeing that a lot more. But let's play our favorite game. Thanks to Kyle. What did the commenter say? Kyle, let's start with you. Where do you think this goes?
I'm going to go with not enough information, or you're too expensive. Like, you're too expensive for what you're offering, is specifically.
Matt, you're a reformed MSP. Talk to us. What do you think is coming on here?
My guess is commenters went deep into the tool hyper analysis rabbit hole of, every line item, and based on what you have, this is correct or not correct.
So, yeah. So, okay. So what's your margin gross and net on these packages? If 90% gross, probably too expensive. That's actually not bad metrics. That's not the first metric I look at, but yes, they are metrics I would pay attention to. So happy data 4, exactly this. There was always going to be prospects that you're too expensive. We have, this seems very expensive for a small stack because of tools. For a small stack that doesn't include BP, you need to add more lists to these offerings. Those are the kind of responses that kill me a little bit. Okay, here's an Aussie bundling similar services for $180 a user. It uses the $, but that could absolutely be Australian, including 365 standard and after hours. We don't charge extra for managing servers, but server backup would be an additional fee. That sounds more reasonable. So, Kyle, you said 249 ended up being 160, so that would make 180. Bring it back down to just under $100. Damn,
that seems cheap.
Yeah. Way too expensive if you have customers willing to pay for that. Over $300 a seat after GST and licensing is just unobtainable for what you're offering.
But it might not be, right?
I disagree with that from a factual statement, but for a lot of clients in the SMB area, I understand that. But it's also a way, and it's how it's presented. In every business, the most expensive cost is your employees.
Absolutely.
And as an MSP, as someone who is talking to SMBs who also have employees, when you're pitching it and you have per user, that's what you should focus on. We're just adding an additional $200 a month to your fully burdened costs per employee. Yep. And if you add or remove, that adds a remove to our contract and fees. It's just like having a cell phone, company cell phone, insurance, all that good stuff. Now they just get IT support.
I've said all I can say on this. Matt, you have anything else you want to say on this before we go to the next one?
No, right? If you can get someone to pay it, Good for you.
Yeah. All right. So our next one is, how are you verifying the client when they call in? Occurred to me the other day that I do not know every client's voice or POC's voice these days. I'm thinking of giving each individual a verification PIN, static 4-digit PIN. Maybe it changes once every couple of years. All users of the clients that interact with us know it. How are you guys managing this?
Not that way. That's my answer.
So
You don't
Matt,
wanna
I'll
do
start
that.
with you. Yeah, this comes up every once in a while, so it's not an exciting topic, but it does come up. I want to say at
It just
least once.
happened, right, with the MGM stuff.
Yes. So, it's and that exactly the MGM for. I can't imagine there's anybody that doesn't know at this point. It was entirely social engineering based. Called the help desk, got them to reset a password through social engineering, and that was the attack vector to get into and decimate MGM, Caesars, and I think there was one more. And even Caesars tried to pay, and they still didn't get back all their stuff, which that's rough.
Yeah.
So Matt, what do you say here? What were you guys doing, or do you have any
So
advice for this person?
we did it with Duo using the help desk push feature. I know there are other solutions, but we were using Duo for MFA at the time, and I think Microsoft does it now. I think even Kelvin built that into SIP.
Yeah, Kelvin just added that to SIP in this last release. You can put, or maybe not this last release, but yeah, you can push to Microsoft Authenticator.
So I think that's a great option, whether it's Duo, Microsoft, whatever. A mobile push as verification is probably one of the top answers that I could come up with. I think the pins are good in theory, except in practice, no one will remember their pin when
Management.
calling for support.
And the management of the PIN.
Yeah.
Who assigns it when it gets created? Where is it stored?
Yeah, we do billing pins on an account level for billing changes, and even that, and it's printed on the invoice. It's not hard security; it's just a factor. But yeah, even that, we get people that can't find the pins every once in a while. It's a thing. Kyle, what about you? You're still facing this every day. What's your feedback?
We require our clients to tell us multiple points of contact, and then we do a change request. So if someone calls in requesting a password, we do a change request. It gets automatically sent to their point of contact, authorized person point of contact, and we reach out to them and verify that so-and-so is requesting a password. Are you authorizing us to reset that password for them? That's not foolproof, but it allows us to maintain some type of order internally and with the client itself to make sure that we're doing it. But yeah, as you know, Duo was an option we looked at. Traceless help desk buttons can do it, some type of verification.
And your method is a nice way to handle things like, I need access to this folder or share. You can get it verified by the primary contact, which Duo can't do.
It's the same process. We just added password resets and new account creations and terminations and all of that stuff. Ray, you're muted.
I should point out we just did a special. Yeah, I know. I'm on Disney mode. In 2 hours, I'm leaving to Disney just
so
to
lucky.
out. So, yeah.
Nice.
Whatchamacallit? So we just did a special report a couple weeks ago. Danielle from Huntress, she works in finance. They had one of their clients, or I'm sorry, one of their vendors have this where they were attacked and got the email forwarded, and they had an ACH request where they were redirecting the requests, and there was $130,000 that they sent the change to Huntress, and Huntress's policy was to pick up the phone and call. They would not do anything by email. They had to do voice verification, and that saved them 130 grand. Saved both sides because the client would have never received it, and so I thought that was cool. It's funny that a lot of these can easily be solved without technology. Don't get me wrong. Love Duo, love Authenticator. Technology makes it easier, but process does have a place in this.
I think it's a mix to get the best of all the worlds and to make sure that everything works. You need a mixture of process, procedure, and technology to allow the facilitation and efficiency gains from the process and procedure.
Wasn't that one of the tracks at MSP GeekCon 2023, MSPGeekCon.com?
Yeah.
Go check it out.
People, process, and automation.
Yeah, I got to plug it. We're preparing for 24 already.
Yep.
So, and good time to call it out. I don't have graphics for it right now, but Kyle, when is MSP GeekCon next year? Do you have the dates?
It's May 19th, 20th, and 21st, 2024.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be in the same Rosen Plaza Center.
Yep.
I forget
which plaza.
One of the plaza. Next May in Orlando.
Yep.
So start blocking off your calendars. Tickets will be available later this year. Just keep an eye on MSP Geek. But so we get to cheat a little bit. Being the platform voice provider, we can see when they're calling from an extension on our platform. That can't be spoofed. So we get to, because if you're going to do MFA, something something you have. Well, the thing they have is that phone that nobody else has access to. And we can tell the difference between, mobile apps and the web apps and actually calling from a desk phone. So that is a method of authentication that we use that I haven't seen anybody else use, but I've talked about it a couple times. It's kind of neat. And then, just standard practices. Because, okay, so let me ask you the question, because this gets a little more murky, and I'm not the only one that'll have this. Any break fix people will have this, or anybody that does anything non-MSP. What do you tell those people? How are they handling it? How should they handle identification when it's somebody you don't have tools with, right? If they call you every once in a while and now they want to change their credit card on file or something, what's the plan there?
Yeah, that's why you have the process procedure part of it without the technology.
Yeah, your process will be different. I mean, what Kyle suggested with the support pin then starts making a lot more sense.
I would recommend just having a point of contact and reaching out to them. Even if they call you, hang up, call the numbers you have. You can use the email you have on file, the phone you have on file, and call them back.
Yeah.
And email them and say, hey.
That's protection 101 that I think needs to be repeated every time you get a chance. The whole, if you weren't expecting it, you weren't looking for it, don't do it. And if I have BOA or the IRS calling me, I always ask them, can I have a number that I can verify online that I can call you back at? I need to be able to go to irs.gov, find this number, call you at that number, and be able to reach you. And honestly, when the few times I've had the IRS that I've had to do exactly that, they were really cool about it. They're like, no, we're seeing this all the time. We absolutely get it. They were really awesome about it. So Bank of America can actually send you a push on your phone. But the vendors, they're open to this. So don't make it up in your head that, no, nobody's going to want to do this. They don't mind for the most part. So I just thought that would be kind of cool. This is something I'm going to bring up. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I thought it was a nice little quirky one. Telephone phone greeting. We're trying to formulate a proper phone greeting when someone, whether current client, someone else calls our office so they can be routed properly. Our current greeting is slim. Basically, calls end up going to a general voicemail, then emails out to everybody. Help desk gets distracted. Calls are not responded to. So they're not doing live answer. Would you be willing to share how your greetings are set up? I'm going to extend this a little bit and talk about initial points of contact best practices, right? Whether they submit an email ticket, whether they call you, whether you do live answer, auto attendant, whatever. We all have our opinions on client success or client experience best practices. Kyle, you go first this time. You guys are doing this today. You're fielding calls from clients and tickets from clients. What do you think is
preface my response with something I think is very important. Telephony as a whole is stupid, and I hate it.
I don't disagree.
So my response to this question is just like any other. I just set up an auto attendant and have a clear and concise method for where the primary calls come. If it's and start with that one, like, hey, thank you for calling MSP Community Live Technologies. press 1 for help desk if you have a service-related technical issue. If you're interested in new client details or need to talk with a sales associate, please press 2. If you have a billing or finance-related question, please press 3. And for all other things, please press 0 to speak with or leave a voicemail. Like something simple, yet is clear and concise to where it needs to go. You're muted again.
You're muted.
But it also depends on, it depends on the individual MSP and how you want to handle it. I would, my ideal situation would be someone calling, directing themselves to their department as required, and then someone answering a phone and being able to assist them immediately with where they actually need to go if they have an issue.
So you guys don't do any live answer, you do auto attendance?
That's where it starts. And then it goes to, depending on, we have a whole team dedicated to answering phones related to the help desk, but they can also, they're our intake team. So they're designed to answer the phones when they come in.
Matt, I don't remember the last time I called ConnectWise corporate that it wasn't support. And I'm not counting support and sales, because support and sales are two different animals. So sales should always live answer, period. But just general phone number for ConnectWise. Do you guys live answer? Do you know?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I've never called ConnectWise for support, actually.
I never have either.
I have.
Kyle, okay. Do they live answer? Is it auto tenant? What is it?
The last time I was called, now it's been a few years, but the last time I did, it was a live answer to which I got no one else to talk to. They put a ticket in for me, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So okay, so that raises a good point. So I'll answer this for an MSP answer, and I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but I'll say that whatever you say you're going to do with this phone call, make sure to actually do it, right? If it's a tech will get back to you, or somebody will email you, or whatever it is, follow through on that. That's more important than whatever you actually say, right? It's regional, it's MSP company dependent, whatever, but you got to follow up on it and not break that expectation.
100%. It's like, but that goes with also with anything, even with tech. You know, if you're a service desk or like a ticket, working a ticket, if you say something, do it, or come back and reevaluate. You know, or touch base with them, right, and reset those expectations for, hey, I wasn't able to do what I specifically said, but here's what I can do for you. Situation.
Right. Like when I get annoyed with the support, it's because the email came back that said someone will get back to you in an hour, and the next day I haven't heard back yet. And if they said tomorrow from the beginning, that would have been fine.
Yeah. My expectations were this, and now you have not met my expectations that you set, and now we have a problem.
So let's play the Kyle game. We got to find a name for this. I'm going to get a bumper as soon as we get a good name for it. But let's guess those comments. Kyle, you seem to be on the money pretty often on these, which is kind of scary. Either you're a better moderator than I am, or you're just psychic.
I don't know if either of those are correct. I just live on the internet a lot.
Discord and Slack, so I'm going to take that back.
Yeah. I think it's just I've been on the internet a lot. So it depends on, the answer to this is going to depend on what type of system they have set up, if it's an auto attendant or they have a receptionist that live answers. And if it's an auto attendant, they have their department split, and the person will navigate to their department.
All right, I'm not going to give you that pass. You can't hedge your bets. What do you think the comments on here are? The majority of the comments.
Auto attendant.
Auto attendant. Matt?
I bet we got a lot of people putting what their greeting is and saying, do this.
Let me see. I don't like to guess at it because I have it shared. So we say company name, this is Tim, so that's a live answer. I hate voicemails. I assume your clients do too. When I leave voicemail with anyone, I assume it's a black hole. Okay. We're a hybrid break fix. Sometimes when the retail line rings, I answer and give my employee name and imitate them to the best of my ability. That is a tactic. I've never seen it done on the phone. But that is a negotiation tactic. Thanks for calling the professional juggler, your number one IT provider. All calls are recorded, so auto attendant.
I like, you should continue that one, by the way. It's a really good one.
Oh, is this okay? Thanks for calling. Let's do this in the voice.
Ooh, yep.
Thanks for calling the professional juggler, your number one IT support. All calls are recorded. Please listen to all of the following options as our menu has never changed. Press 1 for awesome service. We appreciate your business. Bleh. Press 2 for awesome sales. Press 3 for more options. Press 4 to start it over. Billing issues? Press 5 to be disconnected. Still there? Press 6 to be disconnected. Want to terminate service? Press 7 to return to the beginning of the menu. Feeling lucky, punk? Press 0. Try your luck with Janice. You've run out of options. Goodbye. Okay, this may be the winner.
It's great. I love it.
I'm going to go ahead and give that gentleman a nice award because the coins are going away and I got to do something with them. Good for them. Thank you, Fresh MSP, because that was truly fun. And of course, this is where I show off that I don't know how to do things properly. All right, so I'm a one-person shop. I don't like telemarketers. Thanks for calling my shop. Your new client, auto attendant, blah, blah. All right, cool. Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, most of them are auto attendants.
Yeah, that is true. We do auto attendant as failover. We do live answer, and then auto attendant is fallback if we're... Oh, no. Live answer and then answering service is fallback if we're busy. And if they don't answer, which never happens, then auto attendant.
We have something similar where we have an auto attendant, but it fails over to help desk.
Okay.
Just in case.
Yeah,
which you can then leave a voicemail if no one answers.
All right. So you want to do SLA recommendations? We got 5 minutes or 3 minutes. SLA recommendations or billing by device or user?
Man, those are both big topics.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Billing by device or user. I'm curious about your billing preferences. Do you charge clients on a per user or per device basis? I'd love to hear a different insight, experiences, pros and cons. Let's do a rapid fire pros and cons of each, along with your recommendation first. Kyle, I think you said you were a proponent of per user.
I am.
From the first story, yes?
Yep.
Matt, your preference?
Per user.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Baga? Yeah, and I'm definitely per user. I tried per device. It was an epic fail for me.
Per device can be good for smaller companies.
Or engineering or manufacturer.
Yep. Things where the user doesn't necessarily need a lot of help. But I think you can solve that problem without having to have per device planning. However, the market's going to be more towards per user. The costs that you use as an MSP all total up on devices, sure, but that amount of cost is negligible in the.
I think it goes back to what you said in the very first story of, the manager, you teach the clients that this is a per user, just a cost for the employee being in the organization. You have their salary, you have their burden, you add this into their burden cost, and it's easily scalable because you know the number every time you hire somebody. You take into account. Just like when we go to hire somebody, we know it's salary plus insurance plus benefits plus blah, blah. There's an extra cost to hiring people. We know that. It's all built in. So I agree with you 100%, by the way, but you pitch toward telling the user, this is your scalable cost. And like, you're right, you can do that with devices. I did that. We included up to 3 because everybody had a tablet. Everybody had a laptop. Everybody had a cell phone. So we just did up to 3, aggregated, averaged it out. And I can tell you, I never once actually counted devices. I never once overcharged somebody for like one extra device. I couldn't care less.
It becomes much more difficult to manage with the per device.
Yes.
Because do you have an MDM in place that is going to add extra costs to you? And that you have to manage and track. And MDM itself is just a nightmare to manage because they're all garbage. And
part of the problem there also is, they're paying, it becomes, this is a part-time user, or I don't want this device covered, but I do want this device covered. When you're saying I've always said, if you're paying them, that's a user, period.
Yeah.
That's the qualifier for me. All right, Matt. So per user, per device, what's your preference? And a few sentences of why.
So per user, mostly just because I don't want to get into tracking. Did somebody get a new phone and we're managing it, or did somebody get the only times I've seen exceptions or custom contracts is when you have an industrial environment or someone with C shift and you have way more users than devices, or something changes with the ratio. That doesn't even necessarily mean start counting devices. It might just mean custom contract.
Yep.
I love it. And if you guys want to continue this conversation, go into Thread, hit us up on Geek, hit us up on MRU, on Discord. There's plenty of places. Let's continue or MMN Discord. Let's continue the conversation. Real quick, because I know you guys both have hard outs, as do I. Kyle, what do you got coming up next week? You got anything coming on?
Yeah, there's a podcast that I'll be guest hosting on with someone else who's sitting.
Oh shit! I should probably have had that link. Yeah,
with Fence Security about the state of MSPs and cybersecurity at the moment. So that's going to be fun. That's happening on the 3rd, I believe. And you can go on my LinkedIn page, which Ray linked up there.
There you go.
Register for it.
Matt, what do you do? What do you got coming up this week?
Nothing that exciting. I'll be coming on MSP Community Live next Friday. That's probably the only public place you'll see me, except on my 1-minute LinkedIn videos.
All right, and follow the videos. They're definitely worthwhile. Let's see what we have coming on, because I know we got stuff coming on. There's always something. Let's see. Upcoming events. We have Community Live right now. Wins and Losses episode 10 on Tuesday. AI Roundup episode 30 on Wednesday. Tech Bar with this one will actually be with Alex Boyd as co-hosting with me as a guest co-host, and this will be with Trevor Thomas of Zen Contract. Dude has stories for days. It'll be a fun tech bar. Then we have Community Live next week, and 3838 with Ashley Gordon of Level Agency, and then MSP Dispatch as per usual. Matt, Kyle, thanks so much, guys, for being on. I appreciate it as always. I would say have a great weekend, but I know I talked to both of you like every other minute. So I'll see you guys later. To everybody else, take care of yourselves and each other.
Bye guys.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.